guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another video. As you can tell, we're out in the M4, and as you can see, we are looking very different. So straight off the bat, there have been a few changes to the car that I haven't documented on YouTube, simply for the reason that I kind of done the same mods before, and I know it's content, so just do it anyway. But those of you that have done any form of videoing before will know that it's not always as easy as it looks. Imagine trying to do some IKEA furniture, for example, and trying to film it, and then you have to document everything you're doing. It's exactly like that. So as you can tell, it's not that straightforward. So firstly, I thought I'd do this video simply to explain a few of the changes that have happened to the car that I feel are necessary, and a few, come on mate, after you Mr. Suzuki. That's all right, no worries, stop flashing me, you little perv. So straight off the bat, what the hell are you talking about giving my money back? So straight off the bat, something that I feel should happen, and this is the difference. This is the difference between wants and needs. The videos or the stuff that I do aren't always necessarily needs. They're more wants, because it's a car. A car doesn't need anything. It kind of comes out of the factory how it should drive. However, I definitely feel the stance on this car, stock and majority of cars that are made anyway, due to EU regulations and everything like that, definitely could do with some springs and spacers. So straight off the bat, gives it a lower center of gravity, which is going to help when cornering, and also whacking some spacers on as well gives it that nice little stance. I don't know, I would say that the springs are more important than the spacers, but once you do one, it kind of needs the second one. So straight off the bat, springs and spacers, get it done. Must have mod. There's a little jump here. Let's see if we can make the car jump. Come on, up we go. That one, I expected that to come down quite crashy, but obviously we got the springs on, so they're gonna do the job. As I was saying, this is something I feel, especially on any car, it's something quite small, but it really transforms the interior, and that's an Alcantara steering wheel. In the winter, it feels a lot better because it's not frozen cold, and number two, it just makes the interior look a lot more prestige. And luckily for me, VPEX Trims hooked me up with the steering wheel, the armrest, and also the gator for the handbrake. So we've got loads of Alcantara in here, and it just, it makes the interior very prestige. Something, this is quite specific to the S55 anyway, crank up. Now I know it's a myth for some people, but it's something that can go on a stock car, it's something that can go on a tuned car, and it's something that, without trying to scare anybody, if you do own an S55, for peace of mind, just get it done. Like, it's $2 grand all in 2 days, Williams Performance. Or alternatively, don't do it, send your car and you'll be fine, but then 6 grand later you're going to be in trouble. People do say it happens when you do kickdowns, but I know somebody that's gone from drive to reverse and they spun their crank up, so it can happen. Don't just, it's not a myth. It's not a myth. Just get it and then kick down all day long. So next up, while we're on the topic of handling, brakes. So standard brakes on the car, day to day, go into the shops, you're fine. But when you really start pushing on, you notice that the brake pads aren't good and they get hot quite quickly, which then transfers heat into your fluids. So in short, I'm running the EBC Blue, which are, I believe, on par or just, in my opinion, above a DS2500. The good thing about this over the 2500s is that they're not as dusty. They've got weights on them, so they won't rattle at all. They're going to be balanced slightly better than a brake pad without some weights on them, and they do the job on track as well. So if you are new to track days, you'll be fine with the blue stuff. Drive to the track, drive home. Me personally, when I have got a few track days under my belt, I run the RPX pads. So if we're talking about for the road, a must-have mod, upgrade your brake pads. This is a heavy car, I believe it's around 1500, so you want to make sure you've got pads that can stop you. So the blue stuff with some nice RBF 600 or 660 fluid with some Goodrich braided lines, and you're at the races. It will stop you all day, every day. Take my word for it. And to be fair, I have tried quite a few brake pads, and these are by far my favorite setup. I go hard sometimes on a Sunday morning on the road, easing out, and yeah, they do the job. And like I said, we have tested them out on track, and they wear a lot quicker on track, as you can imagine. But just hootling around and going for a little tear up, yeah, this is your friend. These are definitely your friend. You don't want anybody else. Invisible. Now, something that most people are still not very aware of is flashes. So people always go for boot mode free, and with boot mode free you get this transmission flash, but you don't want that. What you want to do is hit up define coding and get the GTS or a CS flash. I believe for an M4 you want the GTS, but for the M3 you can get the CS, and I believe for the M2 comp as well you want a CS. But me personally, the GTS is more of the raw track going spec, and the CS is more road. But with how I like to drive, the GTS, it really does transform the car, especially when you go into a corner. You notice how the diff wants to really lock up and push you out in a good way, obviously, as opposed to sometimes these diffs, even though they are great, they do have a feeling of unpredictableness, if that's a word. But with the CS steering and the MDM, if you drive with MDM on, it gives you a lot more slip in MDM. The steering becomes a lot more direct and gets rid of that dead zone in the middle. And the best thing is how the diff works, which those of you that push your car hard, you'll notice there's definitely a change without having to buy a Drexler or anything like that. This is the second from final mod that I feel needs to be done on this car, and it's a tricky one, because if you are just daily in your car, then it's kind of no point. But if you do intend to take your car on track, getting a better feel for the car, knowing what the car is going to do before it does it, is one of the best feelings or the best things you can have happen to a car. And that happens with a set of these bucket seats. Bucket seats are an absolute no-brainer. They simply give you a better feel for what the car's doing, and they save weight, number one, and number two, they allow you to run harnesses. And when you go on track, you notice you might start, if you are pushing on hard anyway, you might start falling out of your seat. So it's a no-brainer when given that connected feel, running a bucket seat and obviously getting some harnesses. Now, while we're talking about harnesses, the tricky thing here now is you have two options. You could either run a full cage, which is fine for most, or you could do my method and run a harness bar from Pinnacle Motorsport. Harness bar obviously allows you to run a harness, and with the harness bar, as I mentioned, it's number one, lighter than a roll cage, and number two, it obviously allows you to still keep your interior kind of intact. And now, with good timing, as the heavens are beginning to open, the last but not least mod I'd suggest is definitely some carb, and we've got the G87 M2 in front of us, which eventually we will do a video on. But for now, let's catch up with Jack and make a little change to the M4.
Mate, Tim, it's been a minute, hasn't it?
It's been a while. You know what it is? Every single car I get definitely gets something from you guys, but then it goes 6 months later. So I don't know whether you guys make the cars really saleable, I guess. And then they just go 6 months later.
I like that spin. I'll take it. I'll take it all day long.
But before I forget, we can't just brush over this. The G87, how are you finding it?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's a beast of a car. Like, it's a much bigger car dimensionally. Okay. I was actually talking about that. We hadn't really spoken about this off camera, but obviously this car is now based on like the 3 Series platform rather than like the 1 Series and 2, and it's just so much bigger in every dimension, and it feels like a big car when you look at it. And yeah, I mean, they've obviously had to do some special design work to try and make it feel a bit smaller. But Yeah, I mean, otherwise driving it, it just feels like an M3. It feels like an M4.
100%. I remember when you had the M440i from Tony.
Yes.
And we spoke about that, and we said that if that's how M-Lite feels, when they bring out the G82 and the G87, it's going to be crazy.
And it is a massive step on, like dynamically. Like the G42 is a great car. Like, it is a real. I really enjoy driving that car, but the rear end of that car always felt a bit unsettled. It was just like you'd go over bumps or whatever, and it just felt really disconnected.
Sure.
And there's an interesting video that Joe did when he was chatting to the guys that were developing this. I don't think it was when he took the car out in America for the first launch. And they were talking about how much additional bracing and stuff there is in the rear of this car compared to that.
100%.
Which apparently is why there's almost no difference in weight between the four-wheel drive 42 and this. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, yeah, really enjoying it.
Cool. And there's loads more, guys. So yes, I did mention that I will do a video on this, but it's probably not going to be for a few more months because these guys, as you know, are always in development. If you want to know anything about development, check out Nathan's G82. That is a one-of-a-kind build. The front end on that looks night and day. But let's go back to this shed over here. In terms of carbon fibre, which is primarily what most people would know you for if they're looking for any sort of aftermarket modifications. Carbon fibre on this, it comes with the carbon roof, so I guess you kind of have to continue with the carbon.
Yeah, cool.
What sort of bits on this do you guys offer anyway?
Well, look, you've actually done a very nice, like, murdered build on this, black on black on black. Like, it looks really, really good, and that's a good platform to do a little bit of carbon with.
Yeah.
My personal preference on a build like this would be keep it understated.
Okay.
So like, don't go for side skirts with big wings and all that sort of stuff. Nice, clean, plain side skirt. We're gonna go for the mirror caps.
Yep.
You've gone for my spoiler of choice already.
CS. It's got to be done. To be fair, I can't remember what we had. The standard lip on the M2, and when we put the CS on it,
it transforms it. It's really weird.
CS is definitely the one, 100%.
I've gone for a carbon boot lid on my M2. Have you seen that?
I saw that. Yeah, that's naughty. That's very. We're going to leave a little overlay on that because that looks absolutely naughty. We're going to pop out in the rain quickly.
Yeah.
Splitter's very low as it is, but you can see it's not. It doesn't really follow the contours off the bumper. Do you have a splitter available for that?
You can go for the CS style, which will look nice. You've got a GTS style as well, which for you tracking it might be quite a nice option.
Probably, yeah.
That
100%.
comes out quite far, a bit more of a ducktail, definitely get a bit more downforce out of that.
100%.
You haven't got the air breaking through, it's actually going to drive more air into your radiators and stuff as well. So hopefully help with cooling a little bit. Obviously untested, but I'm guessing, I'm just theorising.
And in terms of the rear, we just run around quickly in the rain again, sorry mate. But around the rear, we've just got the standard M Performance diffuser. Do you guys have any three-piece options?
Yeah, you've got some more aggressive options, but to be honest, this would be my choice because it's quite a nice, simple diffuser. What I would add is the carbon inserts here.
Yep.
So you can keep this all looking quite nice and OEM, and then there's a carbon insert which just fills this section.
Would it make it look a bit thicker
as well? And it makes it look, makes it feel like the diffuser, because you can get the diffusers that add on here and go along there. This Vosteiner do one. But I'm quite a minimalist, understated guy. I quite like keeping stuff looking as it should. So yeah, I would keep spec it that way really. But otherwise, nice spec. Just need some LCI.
LCI lights definitely. And obviously we're going to today finish off the carbon with some nice mirror caps. Let's get into it. So guys, as you can see, we have finished. The carbon mirror caps have gone on. Big shout out to Auto ID and Jack in particular, who managed to fit these in a matter of minutes. So as you can see, this is the overall look of the car so far, and I believe there are going to be a few more mods to come. But also I must apologise because obviously we fitted the seats, the harness bar and obviously the harnesses without bringing you guys along, but I just didn't want to repeat content. So let me know if in future you'd like to see everything or whether I should just skim over things and then later on down the line bring you guys along. But yeah guys, if you have found this video helpful, please smash the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, God bless.